everyone, welcome to episode 5 of the Cornish Stitcher, and I'm aware that I've got loads and loads of new subscribers, so welcome if this is your first time here. My name is Ness, and welcome to any returning viewers. All of you are so welcome, and I'm just a little bit overwhelmed by the subscriptions, but really pleased. So my name's Ness. Vanessa. I am a crafter based in southeast Cornwall, a small town between Plymouth and sort of Bodmin Moor area, not far from the beach. And I love to knit, crochet. I've got a small fledgling sewing business that I've started recently. Up until 12 months ago, I was an assistant head teacher at a local very large primary school, but following an episode of burnout, decided to reevaluate things, and so yeah, that's where we are at the moment. But yeah, as I say, welcome to anybody that's new. You're very welcome. Get a cup of tea or a drink or anything that you want, and then maybe a crafting project, and yeah, we'll spend some time together. So this will follow normal podcast kind of scenario. So finished objects, of which there are a couple, works in progress, new acquisitions, of which there are a couple, but they're not purchased. So I'll explain more about that later. I've got my notes here to try and make me stay on track and not deviate too much from the script, shall we say. So yeah, welcome, make yourselves at home. So first finished object, I'm really excited. So I finished Matt's socks, woo! So for those of you who are new around here, these socks were supposed to be a Christmas present for Matt. They're my first full pair of socks, which I've knitted. I did toe up so this is a Wendy Poole Designs pattern. I think it is a paid for pattern. I went to a workshop at Knit Happens, which is a wonderful knitting shop in Bodmin, not far from us, where I also attend Knit and Natter on every Wednesday evening. And so I learnt to do the toe up sock method, and I finished one sock as a result of that workshop, and haven't done the other sock. But these ones were meant to be for Matt for Christmas, and my youngest son, Monty, who's 10, managed to knock the whole of the second sock's heel off of the needles. So I had to, essentially, I tried to repair it. I had many offers of help from friends at Knit and Natter, but in the end I decided no, I needed to rip it all the way back. So I ripped it right the way back, frogged it all the way back to the beginning, recast it on and knitted it for him in time for it was 2 days late for his birthday, which was the 16th of March. But I'm really pleased with them. They're a little bit big, but he works outside all day. He has to travel around the county and is out in all weathers, and so he's layering them up with two pairs of socks, and these go on the top of his other base layer socks. So he is really loving them. I've had to prize them off of him to get them back to be able to show you guys. But yeah, so I did 72 stitches on a 2.5mm needle, and I'm not sure what the wool is. So the yarn came from Wonderwool last year, and it was in a bargain bucket. But I will try and pop a picture up here of what it looks like when I bought it, because my friend and I were looking at it yesterday actually on a photograph, and we couldn't quite believe that the yarn in the skein looked like this when it was knitted up. So it was it was quite interesting to see the difference. But they're really good, they're really soft, the yarn is beautiful, it's not scratchy, it's not an itchy yarn. Yet to wash it, so he's worn them twice and we have yet to wash it, but hopefully it will be really good. So I'm really pleased with them. As I say, they were a little bit of a tricky project to begin with, but I'm really pleased with how it is. I've got a little bit of a ladder in the one heel. I'll just show you. The heel is a bit ladder-like. I'm not sure you can see, yeah. So it's a bit ladder-like, but I think with practice, that should ease in the next, maybe the next pair. So in my next project I'm planning on doing is a pair of shorties for myself. I only tend to wear trainers and small shoes throughout the summer, well, from about February really till about November. And so I don't really wear long socks. So I'm planning on making myself some shorties, and I've already got the yarn for those that I purchased at the East Anglian Yarn Festival. So I'm hoping that they work out just as well. So I'm really pleased. I've had them on the sock blockers, although my sock blockers seemed a bit small for these. So it might be that I need to buy a second pair of sock blockers in men's shoe sizes rather than in a lady's shoe size. I think that these are just a little bit too small. I'm a size 6 and Matt's a size 9. So they don't really fit his feet, but the sock blockers don't fit the socks. But I'm hoping that that they just blocked by themselves. Okay, so that's the first finished object. The second finished object is not knitting or crochet, it's actually sewing, and it's this top here. So I'm going to stand back to show you, because so I've made this top here. So I've started to, I'm on a course, a dressmaking course, which is very different to normal sewing. And as you can see, so I've got some pleats in the top, it's got a button clasp on the back, it's got some darts in the bust section. So I'm really pleased. Actually, I'm going to put it over here. I'm really pleased with how that's turned out. So yeah, I made it completely independently. It was a simplicity, no it wasn't, it was a Burda pattern. It was a Burda pattern that I purchased at Fabric Land in Bournemouth in February half term. And I had the stash of fabric just in my quite comprehensive fabric stash. And so I decided to make that for myself. So I'm really pleased with it. It doesn't quite fit. I've deliberately done it so that it doesn't quite fit. I'm on a Slim and Well journey. I had lost a tremendous amount of weight, about 7 stone. But then everything that happened with work and teaching and the ending of a career that I thought was forever, kind of has put about 3.5, possibly a little bit more of that back on. So I'm back on my journey downwards. And so I didn't want to make something that's taken quite a lot of time and effort. I didn't want to make something that would then not be usable. Bear with me. So I apologise. My dad is in his greenhouse here. So I'm just going to turn the camera just a little bit, because otherwise it gets a little bit distracted with somebody in and out of the background. I think he's planting tomato plants that he has been and purchased from the garden centre, ready for me to plant. So last year we planted I decided to have my first foray into growing our own produce. My dad is a very proficient gardener, is a recipient of a Chelsea Gold medal for flowers that he's grown. Those green fingers did not come to his daughter, and it does not come naturally for me to garden. And so I decided last year I'd have a go, and he's just arrived home with a bunch of, I think, 5 tomato plants for me to be able to plant into my little area. Last year I did wonderfully with tomatoes. I had 1 lot of carrots, and my courgettes failed really badly. They didn't grow at all, but my tomato plants were producing fruit right the way through till the autumn, so that was really good. We digress. My other finished object is I fell down a rabbit hole and fell for the same craze as it seems to be all over Instagram of a travelling sewing case. So I'm not sure if you're not aware, these cases, I have a second one to do. These cases originate as a jewellery case. So they start like this with all the jewellery compartments, and this here And then the craze that swept Instagram, and it would seem most podcasters, has been to make them into travelling knitting or sewing cases. So I've done this one for sewing, and then this one is going to be a travelling knitting case. So it looked exactly the same as that when it was first here, and then I've edged the here with some fabric. This was my grandmother's needle case, just show you, and it was and it's all of her original needles. It's so old, but I just love it, and it's so treasured. But that goes into that pocket there, and then here, so what I did was I take this bit out and this bit out so you can see. I took out all of the separate compartments, and I recovered the base, these edges, and then these dividers I recovered in this contrasting fabric, and then this I had to take out completely and recover and reassemble. But I'm really pleased with the results. So I've used it, as you can see, it's full of stuff. These are my traveling needles, and the others are my long-term needles. But I'm really, really pleased with how it turned out. So I made it on I think it was a Sunday afternoon last week. And I just spent about an hour and a half in the evening making it. Really, really enjoyed it. Just a little bit of different kind of creativeness than knitting or crochet. So it was really nice to complete. And then I've got this one to do. What I think I might do is put something on the top, some sort of decoration on the top. I was thinking maybe some English paper piece in hexagons, but the templates I've got are too big. So they are sort of quite big hexagons. So I will either need to source some smaller hexagons or make some of my own, which is fine. I'm just gonna, it's not working. So yes, so I'm really pleased with those. Was there any, yes, a finished object. Now my next finished object is kind of half finished object, half work in progress. So I will show you the finished object part, and then you'll understand. So finished object number 3 is I have finished another square of my, I'll show you, of my Sweet Shop blanket. So this is using the leftover yarn from my scarf that I showed in the last episode, I think. It's a Rosie's Moments yarn, 4-ply, and I'm holding it double in the blanket. So I'm holding all the coloured sections. So we'll move on to whips because it seems a natural thing. But all the coloured sections in my Sweet Shop are 4-ply being held double. And then the cream is a natural cream yarn that I'm using anyway. That's DK weight, so it matches perfectly. But I was really struggling, and it's not because of Laura's pattern. So this is a Laura Penrose pattern, and it's not because of the way it's written. It's written really clearly. It's a really, really well written pattern, and I must say that. But I was really struggling with this square. So essentially you do this foundation square first, and then you do these two, and then you do this one, and you pick up all the stitches. And I'm not sure you can see, my picking up of my stitches just is not great in any way. And I just didn't like the effect it was having. So I've decided to knit all of the squares as the foundation square, and then I'm just attaching them on the back with mattress stitch. And actually between them, there's not that much difference, and it's the back of a blanket. It's for me, it's not for a gift. I was getting so stressed with the double picking up of stitches and the German short rows that it seemed my German short rows on my sock were fine, but my German short rows on this were proving to be a headache. I don't know how many times I ripped back that pink one, maybe about 3 times. And so I've decided, no, I can get the same effect that I want by doing it this way. So I'm going to continue to do it this way. So my plan is to do at least 2 squares a month. So, but by the time I get to Christmas, I will have a lap-sized blanket at least. And this is my latest one, nearly finished actually. So still on the needles. So this set of yarns here were 2 5-gram minis that I've held double. I don't think I've got any left. 2 5-gram minis from Lay Family Yarn. Nearly all the yarn in this blanket is going to be Lay Family Yarns. I bought a mixed scrappy pack when I was at Yarndale last year, and most of it was to put into my own advent calendar. So my husband Matt, he wrapped each one individually and popped them into my advent calendar for me, and I opened each one each day. But a lot of them are 5 gram. They vary between 5 and 20 grams. And these two happen to be 5-gram minis. So I've held them double. And I really like the contrast of the green and the blue together. I wasn't sure I would when I first held them next to each other. But actually, when they've knitted up, they've come up really nicely. So yeah, just a few more rows of this cream, and then I'll attach that one. And then I'm thinking maybe a really maybe a more subdued colour to go here, because there are quite a few brights at that row. So maybe I need to tone it down a little bit. But yeah, as I say, it's a Laura Penrose blanket. They seem to be everywhere. I'm sure you've heard of it, but it's the Sweet Shop. I'll show you a picture of the front of the pattern if I can find it, but because it is a paid for pattern, I don't want to show the whole pattern. Bear with me. It's all in bits. Do I not have the front of the pattern? I don't seem to have the front of the pattern. But yeah, if you look for Sweet Shop blanket, it comes up. So, there it is. There is a picture. So there's the Sweet Shop blanket, and I just love it. Laura's is obviously quite more subdued there. I've got pops of brights coming throughout mine, and I've just got some more minis that are really bright. So I'll space them out as we go through the colourings. But I'm really liking the effect of it. Yeah. Sorry, my camera had a little bit of a moment. Right, so my next whip is, it's a design of my own. Just work it, you'll see it's not complex. So I've decided, I had purchased a skein. I went to Yarndale last year with the very, very clear aim of purchasing one particular skein of particular yarn. And I had seen on Instagram the dyeing of Dragon Spirit by Ducky Darlings, and that was my sole aim. First thing I did as soon as I walked through the door was race to Ducky Darlings stand, because we had gone on the Sunday, and I was really worried that this time that they would have sold out and I wasn't going to be able to obtain any. But I was fortunate that there were still some on the stand, so I purchased some. So I wanted to do something with this yarn that would show off its just magnificent beauty, and I really loved it. I yelped when I saw it on Instagram and how it looked. So I decided to knit up a cowl. So I'm just doing a basic rib stockinette stitch cowl with a rib at the top. I love my colourwork cowl that I made, and I wear it all the time on the beach, particularly when it's windy and cold and I'm walking the dogs. But it's been wonderful. It doesn't blow off, and it doesn't fly around, and it doesn't flick me in the eyes, and so it's just does its job wonderfully. And so I decided to make another one, and this is the cowl, and it's turning out even better than I expected it to in terms of the colour works. So the way the colour is just turning out on each stitch, and I love the way each stitch is totally different. So I'm holding it double, and therein also lies a tail, so I have 2 balls. So I have a Swift and a yarn winder, but every single time I'm winding my yarn, I'm not sure if it's the way I'm winding it, if it's the way that the winder's working, if it's the way I'm taking it off, but every single time I wind a very expensive skein of hand-dyed yarn, it kind of prolapses. That's the only word I can use. It spurts out the middle, and I end up in a complete mess. So for this one, and that was happening again, and so for this one I unwound it all and rewound it in 2 balls, which I weighed as I was winding them up. So I ended up with 2 equal sized balls, and I'm knitting it double from that. So I just dropped one, bear with me. Back. So I'm holding it double, and it's actually working out really well. I'm loving how the yarn is knitting up. As I said, I just love it. And I've got my stitch markers on that I got from All's Wool That Ends Well, All's Wool That End Wool, at East Anglia Yarn Festival. And yeah, I'm just loving how it's working out. So not much more. I think I've probably got about 10 more rows, maybe 10 or 12 more rows, and then just a short ribbon section, and then it will be off the needles. So hopefully, yes, hopefully it will be finished for the next podcast and I can show you what it looks like. But yeah, I'm loving it. So it's really good, and I'm really pleased with how that's working out. So that's a whip, and that's being stored in my Stitched by Mrs. D bag, which I also got at East Anglian Yarn Festival, but I forgot to show that on my previous podcast. Tilda fabric one with the Suffolk puffs, which I do really like. So yes, so if anyone's got any hints and tips for the Swift, please feel free to comment, because I'm gonna have a go at winding it with my friend's Swift and my winder and see if that has any benefit. But she thinks it might be my winder, so we're gonna try the other way first, my Swift and her winder, and see if it has any beneficial effects. So but if anybody else has got any ideas, please do comment, because I have no idea as to why it's not working. I've checked the tension, I've checked where I've got it, I've got the Swift really tightly wound, fixed up, I've got them at a distance, and I watched the ladies winding them up at the East Anglian Yarn Festival, because there was an option that you could make a donation and have your skeins wound. And I watched them for ages, probably 20-25 minutes, just to double check that everything I was doing was the same as they were doing, because every skein that they wound was coming off perfectly. And I was doing exactly the same. So I'm not really sure. I think it might be something wrong with the winder rather than error by me, but we'll find out. But yes, so on to acquisitions. So I've 2 acquisitions that aren't here yet, so I do have to confess to those purchases. One is my pre-ordered skein of Herkle Durkle, which is the Lay Family Yarns skein, which has been designed and inspired by Gaynor at Tales from Cuckoo Land. Hi Gaynor. And I just love it. It's like a pale pinky speckled, it just is a beautiful yarn. And I missed out the first time and was gutted, and then I had an email from Lay Family Yarn, from Kelly at Lay Family Yarns, on earlier this week, saying yes, that they were releasing the final pre-order, and to go ahead and order it. So I've done it. So I'm waiting patiently, not very patiently, but I'm waiting patiently for my yarn to arrive. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to make with it yet. I just fell in love with the colourway. I think it's just so beautiful. But yes, when that arrives, I'm sure there will be a little squeak of excitement emitted from myself. Second acquisition is I've decided this year to have a purchased advent. So I've gone at the moment, but everyone's releasing them, and now I'm like, oh, I want more than one. But anyway, at the moment I've ordered Green Lambkin Yarns one, Enchanted Forest, and I just love the inspirational photograph, and I'm just captivated by it. So I'm really, really looking forward to receiving those. They are going to take some willpower, because they're going to arrive 3 skeins a month up to the end of the year. And so I'm not sure, I'm not going to be able to peak. So I'm just going to have to come up with a cunning plan as to where to store them. I did think about giving them to Matt, but I'm worried he might lose them. He forgets where he's put things if he puts them in a safe place. So I'm a little bit worried that if I give them to him, that safe place may be a little bit too safe. And if I give them to Ethan, the teenager, well, his room is a little bit like a black lagoon. It probably will never see the light of day again. It's a teenager's room, and you need to put armour on to go in there. So yeah, I'm thinking probably I need to have a little bit of willpower of my own and not give them to somebody else. But my other two acquisitions were given to me. So my friend's mother-in-law really sadly passed away at the end of the summer last year, and her son is in the process of clearing out her house ready for selling. But he rang me up and he said, "Oh, Vanessa, I've got this whole 2 big bags of acrylic yarn. Would you like it to make things with?" I was like, "Yes, please." So I've got 2 big bags of acrylic yarn that I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with yet. But also he said, "Oh, there's a couple of pattern books." And he said, "But they look quite old." And I was like, "Oh, well, bring them and I'll have a look." And one of them is this. So it's Jane Greenhouse Knitted Toys. And I think it's probably an 80s book. I remember my aunts and uncles, my grandmother and my dad's siblings. So this one actually, oh, just looking, yeah, 1986, and then this edition was published in 1994. So it's a 90s book, but it's got Jane Greenhouse. I'm not sure if you're aware, is really famous for these kinds of knitted toys. And so, but this book is 30 years old, and you know, I've never knitted anything like these, but yeah, I just thought I really want it just to keep it for kind of its interesting pictures and patterns, and I love them. And then in the same bag was a whole folder of his mum's knitting patterns that she had acquired, and a lot of them are similar. They're the knitted clowns and things like this, so it's quite difficult to hold because it's full. So there's knitted clowns and more clowns, and then a Father Christmas and Mrs. Claus, and I love them. But then within here were these, well, for a start, there's patterns that she has handwritten out. So it says wedding dress for Cindy, and I just thought, oh wow, I never had a Cindy doll. I had Barbies, but I never had Cindy. And then there's a one for rabbit, cat, pig, pear, panda and penguin. It obviously is an interchangeable pattern, which I loved. But then within here were these kinds of books, and these were really old as well. And then as I went further back again, I'm trying to find it, there was a pattern book, and it was a bizarre one, as in B-A-Z. Both me, I'll pause the video. Yeah, and then I'm back. There were others that were like this, and it's really quite fragile. It's falling to pieces, as you can see, but just really historical patterns. And they are so they're British patterns, but they're pre-decimalisation. A lot of them have sort of 6D and 3D, which is like 3 pennies and 6 pennies in old money. So they predate the 1970s, and I think a lot of them are in the 1960s, and we did a little bit of research, and one on them was from 1962. So I feel really honoured and quite privileged that these have been passed to myself to look after. I'm not sure yet if I will use any of them, but I don't have girls, I have boys. So but who knows what the future will hold in terms of children that come into our lives on the periphery, or in, you know, in many years time. So I'm really fortunate and really honoured to be able to look after them on behalf of his mum. So they're really lovely. So yes, so thank you again if you are new around here. We are now about to hit, so it's Tuesday today. The children break up from school on Thursday, and then we are going away. We're going to France for a week. We're going to go to visit Paris. So I haven't been to Paris. I've been to Paris once in 2002, so a long time ago. I was young and remember bits of it, but I'm really looking forward to. Ethan went in the summer with his school for a school residential trip, but Monty and Matt have never been. So Matt speaks fluent French, and so we are fortunate that we have a fluent French speaker with us, so it makes going to France a lot easier. But we're going to do a few days in Paris and a couple of days either side on the coast. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I was thinking that I might vlog some of our trip. So if that's something that you think you'd like to see, just pop a comment down below, or indeed if it isn't something you would like to see. But I thought it might be interesting just to have a look around at the sites. I'm going to definitely, while I'm there, seek out some wool shops and yarn shops. I googled, which was a mistake, I googled yarn shops Paris, and the biggest amount of red dots appeared all over the Google search. So I think they are quite high in number. So I'm not sure I'm going to be allowed to go and see all of them any more than they're allowed to go and spend hours watching cars. Which is what they want to do. They think Paris is full of sports cars, which is their main two passions. So I think that I might vlog some of that for us while we're away. And then I will do another podcast when I come back. So I've got lots and lots of knitting to take with me. I'm going to take my sweet shop blanket and see if I can do some more on that. Hopefully I'll finish the cowl before I go, and not have to take that. I'm planning on taking my jumper. So my jumper that I showed last time, I've done here, and I've just finished the increases, and I'm now about to start the colour work. So I haven't taken that to Knit and Natter on a Wednesday because I just need to concentrate so much for the colour work. But I should be able to do that while I'm sat in the evenings. And then we have a sort of 20-25 minute commute each. We're staying on the very edge of the suburbs of Paris. And so our plan is that we'll commute in each day. So I've got a 20 to 25 minute sort of train journey in from the suburbs. So I think I'm going to cast on my shorties so that I can just knit easy stockinette stitch while I'm going in and out on the train. So yes, those are my future plans. Hope everyone's really well, and that you have managed to get some sunshine. Today is really sunny, but yesterday it was like biblical levels of rain in Cornwall. There were places that flooded yesterday that have never flooded before, and it did not stop all day. We've got thunderstorms forecast again for tomorrow, so this bit of sunshine is really welcome. I'm hoping for really good weather next week. Don't really fancy traipsing around the city in the rain, but we will see. But yes, so if there's any questions or any comments that anybody would like to do, pop them down below. If you wanted it, if you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe. And as I say, thank you again for everyone that's watching. I'm really quite humbled by it. And I really wanted to say thank you to Ali at Little Drops of Wonderful, and Davina and Martin. So Davina and Martin have also mentioned me, so thank you very much. Davina at Little Workroom Crafts and Martin at Knit 365. And so yeah, thank you very much. I felt quite honoured to be mentioned by all of you, so thank you massively. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll take care, and we'll see each other soon. Bye.